Warning: this video contains math and is therefore recommended for nerdy audiences only. How long will it take your money to double? It's a good question. Doubling itself is kind of arbitrary, but it gives you an intuitive sense of how well an investment product is performing. For example, if I say that a given savings account returns 4%, that might sound okay, but if I were to tell you that that means that it would take 18 years for your money to double in that account, that feels different. We can intuitively grasp time much better than we can grasp percentages. And that's why I want to talk to you today about the Rule of 72. The Rule of 72 states that the amount of time in years that it takes an amount of money to double is roughly equal to 72 divided by the interest rate. Or alternatively, the rate of an investment is roughly equal to 72 divided by the number of years it takes for it to double. You can do it either way. For example, given a 4% rate, that's 72 over 4, means the investment will double in roughly 18 years. With a 12% rate, 72 over 12, means the investment will double in 6 years. Or if you have the number of years, like for something to double in 10 years, that's 72 divided by 10, which gives you a rate of 7.2. Just fix that right there. This isn't an exact calculation. For example, for something to double in 1 year, you'd kind of expect it to be 100%, right? But 72 over 1 is 72%? It doesn't work. So even though it was way off there, it's still a great approximation. So let's talk about why this works. What we're in effect trying to do is solve this. Given an annual rate of R, and the number of years it takes to double N, and 2 means, well, 2, right? Double, 2. So given R, what is N? Given your annual rate, how many years will it take to double? If you're not totally on board yet, let's go back to that 4% example. So we plug in 0.04, because like 4%, for R, and do some adding, and then we get 2 equals 1.04 to the n. So we're trying to solve for n here, and the way to do that is to use the natural logarithm.
Yes, log. All kids love log.
Now, it's okay if you're not totally up on your natural logs. I'll give you a quick refresher here. Basically, it just allows you to pull down exponents. So if you take the natural log of both sides, the natural log of 2 is equal to n times the natural log of 1.04. Now, don't worry. If you happen to leave your slide rule at home, I've got one here. I'll do it for you. Plug in, solve for n, and we get a doubling time of 17.679 years, which is pretty close to 18. So not bad there, it's pretty close. So it's not exactly 72, but how close is it? Well, it turns out that for small values of R, you can do a lot of simplification here. And we're definitely working with small values of R. In the last example, we had a 0.04. That's pretty small, right? So, given where we started and where we got to, the natural log of 2 equals n times R. Much simpler. So now it's much easier to solve for n. Okay, so n is roughly, oh, right, yeah, so it's not equal. Down here it's roughly equal, but you know what I mean. So n is roughly equal to 0.693 over r. And if we convert back to a percentage, because we want to talk about r in terms of percentages and not decimals, we have 69.3. So instead of the rule of 72, we're actually talking about the rule of 69.3. Doesn't that just roll off the tongue? So why do we call it the rule of 72? Well, we've already done some approximations, and once you start approximating, you can't, you won't, and you don't stop. Excuse me, I was feeling ill in my communication there for a second. Another reason is that 72 has a lot of factors, which makes the math easier. So you got 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 6 and 8. All of those numbers divide evenly into 72, making calculation in your head simpler. Much simpler than 69.3. But the coolest part about the rule of 72 is that it's most accurate in the range we most care about. Most interest rates that we talk about are 4%, 8%, 10%, maybe 12%. You're not going to talk about anything less than 2 because those are never going to double anyway. And you're not going to talk about anything more than 20 because, well, those investments don't really exist. 8% is the place where the rule of 72 is most accurate, which is, incidentally, approximately the average annual return of the US stock market over the long term. Now, typically, we don't invest a lump sum. We invest a little bit over a long period of time. And also, returns are variable. A fund that earns 8% on average isn't going to earn 8% every year. But never mind all that. This is still a good rule of thumb, and it'll help you figure out whether an investment is sufficient for you, given your timeline and your needs. Sometimes, the math can actually be easy enough to do in your head. No slide rule required. I'm Mike Pumphrey for Empathic Finance, and until next time, thanks for watching.